Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today. It's Monday, February 11th, 2013, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com, and on YouTube, my channels are ddarko 2012 and 2013. And I'd just like to take a second to thank those who have supported GGN. I appreciate it very much. Alright, so we left off with this article, China eclipses US as biggest trading nation. I'll include this link, you can check it out for this article, 40 Ways That China is Beating America. Okay, so then we have 1 in 3 Illinois residents live in poverty. Said new statistics from a Chicago-based social research group reveal that 1 in 3 Illinois residents are living below or near the poverty line. It says here that almost 1.8 million, or 15% of Illinoisans, live in poverty. Another 2.2 Illinois residents million, 17.9%, have incomes between 100% and 199% of the poverty level. A family of 4 with an annual income of less than $23,000 is considered to be living below the poverty line. It goes on and says the rate has increased by 3.1% since 2007. So this associate director of the Social Impact Research Center said, "We have been seeing the statistics and numbers grow over the course of more than a decade." In the UK, the business confidence is the lowest in 21 years. Hopes for Britain's financial recovery have faded away as business confidence in the country has hit a 21-year low, a survey found. It fell to 88.9 in January from the reading of 90 in December, marking the 8th consecutive month that the index has remained below 95. And I just heard something today on the local news radio about how the stock markets aren't representing the real markets, which isn't really a big surprise. In other words, they're overconfident in the market, right? Which is nice, you know, as the Fed is artificially keeping interest rates low and trying to stoke borrowing and stuff like that, more debt. Home ownership falls to the lowest level since 1987. The official figures reflect a large increase in renting as Britons lock out of home ownership amid the tough economy. That's what we call it, a tough economy. That's the wealth consolidation operation taking place. Then we have levels of personal debt in Canada at an all-time high. Credit Information Organization says that levels of personal debt in Canada have reached an all-time high. TransUnion said in a report that the working-class people in Canada are compelled to face increasing personal debt in order to attain basic subsistence. So in a lot of places that are called the undeveloped world, or third world countries, where you have dictators and rebels trying to fight these foreigners from coming in, what do we have? They always said, oh, well, we need foreign investment. We need foreign investment, right? The majority of Canada's wealth goes to foreign resource companies and to homegrown capitalists, leaving working-class Canadians with no other choice than to burden themselves with debts in order to sufficiently provide for themselves and their families. So that's what they're doing when they're fighting off these foreigners, and especially like now in Africa and that, like they were in parts of the Middle East. They're fighting from becoming to avoid becoming debt slaves, which the Americans and a lot of the developed countries, they're not even aware of what they're doing there. They're becoming debt slaves. I think in China, actually, they pay mostly in cash. They live like paupers, but their standard of living has gone up a little bit. They're getting all the little creature comforts that we have in the West, so they're trying to mirror and live like Americans. And of course, by doing this, they're providing cheap goods to the U.S. The biggest one through Walmart. Like I've made this argument before, this analogy, whereas Americans are able to maintain their standard of living because of those debt slaves in China. Of course, Americans are debt slaves themselves, so. That's the big indicator that something's kind of not going well, right? When you see Walmart close, or they start closing stores, cutting back, or basically people can't afford those cheap crap goods anymore. Shelters seeing more elderly homeless. On the afternoon of January 17th, blah blah blah, temperature dipped below freezing. Family dumped a 78-year-old relative at the Interfaith Inn homeless shelter and quickly drove away. They left her on the sidewalk with a wheelchair and a few suitcases. So this is the future, guys. This, like say in Donnie Darko, we all die alone. I mean, we do. And you've probably heard that saying in many different movies and stuff like that, but we do. And this is not like before, where you take care of your elders, Your elders may have had some wisdom to carry with them. Now, most of them, they don't. They don't know shit. And I'm sorry to say that, but the even sadder thing is that they get dumped off by their families, because their families are kind of like half-half, they don't have the time to take care of them because they're working and slaving away till they're, not into their 80s now, can't retire, and they don't have the time to take care of them, and B, they don't have the money, but C, also, they're just, lives have changed. The culture and family's been broken so much, right? By design, that to actually keep the grandparents or keep the parents and all that all together, it wouldn't be suitable. So, I mean, times have changed real fast, and it's going to keep changing really fast. So, Citigroup hasn't paid taxes in 4 years, got $2.5 trillion from the Fed. So, talking about corporate welfare on Wall Street. So those who took billions in federal bailout money in 2008 and 2009 are now turning around and telling the rest of us that we need to tighten our belts by cutting Medicare and Social Security and increasing the age of eligibility for each program. And they're trying to increase the age, of course, for pensions and that. Of course, most of these companies are what they're getting raises and big bonuses. So, how the Fed is handing over billions in profits to foreign banks each year. So just like during the spring and summer of 2011, all the cash generated by Fed excess reserves has gone to foreign banks operating in the U.S., which, according to the Fed, are vastly composed of European financial institutions, probably China too, China and like Germany and that. In other words, the cash that the Fed is creating out of thin air by monetizing the U.S. deficit is going solely and exclusively to European banks and a handful of other ones. So in November 2012, in this paper, it said the recent unprecedented buildup of cash balances by foreign banks was almost entirely composed of excess reserves. All this was explained in extensive detail previously here and here, so the links are posted. You can go in there and check it out. So I've got lots to get to today, so I'm going to keep moving. There's trillions for wars and none for cancer-stricken children, or basically victims of eugenics, population control measures. Team cures cancer with innovative treatment. Child patients stuck with staggering bills. Okay, switching gears here, we have by exiting papacy, still alive, Pope Benedict follows a precedent not seen for 598 years. So, but it's pretty big news, I guess, because it was unexpected. So he's just stepped down on February 28th. Now, of course, they have this. Now the Pope Benedict conspiracy theory, sex scandal, Nazi history, prophecy. So it goes on here. This is the biggest thing. Of course, there's a prophecy. A bishop named Malachi may have proclaimed in 1140 that the 111th Pope, the one after Benedict, will reign during the downfall of the Church. But as the National Review explains, Malachi's predictions were likely invented for political reasons. And when I went through some of the stuff online, the official Catholic version of this prophecy thing, they basically say that that it has to do with olive. It could be referring to olive skin, meaning it could be a Hispanic or Latino or an African or something like that. And that was actually from the news today. They were saying it's possible replacements. And so who really knows? But they're downplaying it, and maybe he just wants out of there. He was talking about aliens, and I think he's kind of open for the contraceptive and stuff like that. So, oh yeah, it was the official Catholic website. It was actually talking about the Black Pope. That's not the prophecy, but the Black Pope. That's what I'm sorry. I wanted to correct that because I was looking into about the Black Pope, White Pope thing, and they basically downplayed it, saying that there's no conspiracy to that. He doesn't have any power. So, but for whatever it's worth, we know about the Illuminati and their symbols and stuff like that. So it could mean a changing of the guard with the Black Pope and that. Who knows? But it says 900-year-old Order of the Knights of Malta celebrates anniversary with Vatican Mass. It goes on here. It says the Knights of Malta, one of the most, I can't ever pronounce that word, organizations in the world, marked its 900th birthday Saturday with a colorful procession through St. Peter's Square, a Mass in the Basilica, and audience with Pope Benedict. It says here, himself a member of the one-time chivalrous order drawn from Europe's nobility. See, they're volunteers in neon orange civil protection suits. They're an aid group that runs soup kitchens in hospitals. Let's not forget that quote, conservative judge that at the last minute helped pass, quote, Obamacare, he fled. Yeah, because last minute no one was expecting it, and he fled. And where he fled? He was found in a picture entering the Knights of Malta office building. So, Polish court rejects call to remove crucifix from Parliament. A Polish court has rejected a motion calling for the removal of a crucifix from Parliament's debating chamber in a case pitting Poland's traditional Catholicism against younger generation who think the church is too strong. But the government isn't, It says transgendered lawmaker likely faces votes for leadership posts as Poland sheds taboos. So they're shedding their taboos. So, as a man, she once wore a thick beard. Now Poland's first transgendered lawmaker favors big dangly earrings and a form-fitting dress, her hair in a feminine bob. So, whether she wins or not, it'll become perhaps the most prominent symbol of liberal change in a country that has traditionally been deeply conservative, overwhelmingly Roman Catholic. Certain taboos are being dismantled, like the family, and like I said before, it's like when they attack our families and they break them up. And, you know, economically having to live away from each other, just distractions with television and programming and stuff like that. It's not cool to be with your family. Of course, like, you know, like I said, divorces and stuff like that. A weak family is basically means that that we can no longer fight the system anymore. We're all, like I said, we all die alone. We're all left out on our own. And you can go and protest and stuff like that, but to me, honestly, I just don't think it does a damn thing. I don't really have much confidence in the electoral system, you know, going that avenue. So they kill one of the biggest bulwarks, you know, and that is the family. And once they kill that, they kill our culture, and then our society goes downward into the toilets. Well, this is why you see these shootings every week and all this crazy shit happening. And like I said, I mean, we just have to sit here and take it and watch it happen. You know, me personally, I pray. I mean, I don't go to church every Sunday, but I do pray every day. I just hope to, you know, keep my sanity and stuff like that, and not get completely bitter about the whole thing. Indiana town wants traditional prom, says, but not everybody in the town of Sullivan is on board. So it's probably the minority who's an atheist or something like that, or has a lot of money, like a lawyer or is a Jew. So, and I mean, I'm just like overgeneralizing, but that's usually how it is. It's not like it's a strong majority or anything. We're talking about Indiana, again, a conservative state. In Indiana, town is abuzz over a plan to hold a competing prom with a traditional theme, one in which gay students are banned. So a group of high school students and parents, as well as at least one teacher, are pushing their idea in hopes that others will join. It says if we can get a good prom, then we can convince more people to come and follow what they believe, says one student. We don't agree with homosexuality, and it's offensive to us, said Sullivan, a special ed teacher. When asked if she thought gay people have purpose in life, she said, no, honestly, I don't. So this is pretty harsh stuff. She probably shouldn't have said that. But for whatever it's worth, that's her free speech. So sorry, but I don't understand it. The movement got support from one local pastor, said Christians have always been prepared for a fight. Jesus gave us armor for the front, not the back, and we're not running anymore, he said. So it says not everyone is grabbing their pitchforks. You like that? See? And torches and stuff like that. Racist bigots. Notes that a counter-campaign has sprung up among students who want everybody at the prom, with one gay student posting the following: I absolutely hate how my town is getting called anti-gay bigots because of a few Christians are planning a separate prom. Not all of Sullivan is like that. And you could say, well, not all of Sullivan is like you. You are a minority. You're a minority. So why does everything have to change and cater to you? There's many problems that are going on in the world besides you having everybody getting enslaved, but somehow you get your rights. Gender discrimination, again, this is the fracture society and split us up. Gender discrimination, ACLU complaint puts an end to Rhode Island school district's father-daughter dances. So they dominated the headlines earlier this year after a teen atheist successfully sued, there you go, to have a prayer mural removed from Cranston High School, Rhode Island. Now there's two new targets within the very same school district: father-daughter dances and mother-son baseball games to be canceled because it discriminates. Pentagon extends benefits to same-sex couples. So it decided to begin extending same-sex partners as many of the same benefits it offers to married couples. And they got women fighting the front lines too. Obama mulls executive orders on gay rights and the environment. So says he's also considering to bar government contractors from discriminating against workers over sexual orientation. Teen births continue to decline in the U.S. So the number of U.S. babies born to teen mothers dropped to a record low in 2011. Again, I think this is kind of by design, but it says women say to themselves it's not particularly a good time right now. Let's wait a little bit. The economy has declined, so that's a factor. It says older women, however, say that they don't have as long to wait if they want to get pregnant. About 35 to 39-year-olds actually increased by 3%. This doctor said it's definitely consistent with the trends that we've seen, and it's obviously good news overall, less people, to increase contraceptive and better contraceptive use. U.S. birth rate hit historic low in 2011, so again, this is great news. Indian woman dumped unconscious in field at their mass sterilization. They were mostly poor people. Real-life vampire addicted to blood, doctors claim. So he's receiving the programming effectively. And horse meat found in British supermarkets may be donkey meat.